virtually suck the air out of this courtroom.
A turn of events in testimony stops a trial in its tracks.
The court finds that I have no other legal remedy but to enter a mistrial.
Instead, a deal for the man charged in the deaths of 2 Toledo firefighters.
You're entering a plea of guilty.
Caught between closure and justice, the families of the fallen firefighters.
The outcome of this case and this trial is that nobody wins.
Team coverage, reaction to the mistrial, and the plea deal reached in the case of Ray Abu Arab.
A whirlwind, 24 hours, and one of the most anticipated trials in years.
After weeks of testimony, a moment on the stand brings the trial of Ray Abu Arab to an unexpected ending.
By virtue of our obligation to provide effective assistance of counsel to Mr. Abu Arab, to now move this court to declare mistrial.
The judge accepting the motion for a mistrial, Abu Arab giving a thumbs up in the hall a day after the detective's testimony delayed proceedings.
Abu Arab on trial for aggravated murder and arson in the 2014 fire that killed Private Stephen Mashinsky and Jamie Dickman. But today, Abu Arab entered an Alford plea to reduce charges.
And here's what the plea entails. He is pleading guilty to 2 counts each of involuntary manslaughter and aggravated arson. His sentence, 20 years in prison, but he was credited for the time he's already spent in jail. He'll also have to register as an arson offender.
And our team tracking the fallout from today's developments, the firefighters' families, and the fire department sharing their thoughts on the court's decision.
But we want to start with how this all played out in the courtroom, and for that we turn to 13 ABC's Alexis Means.
Well, the family was pretty disappointed today. This is not how they wanted this case to end. Last night, the witnesses' testimony was reviewed by the prosecutors, and then the prosecutor gave the family 2 options. You either go to another trial or go through another trial, or you allow Ray Abu Arab to take a plea agreement. They chose the plea agreement because they did not want to have to go through another trial.
Because this wasn't an accident. This wasn't an act of God. This wasn't bad luck. This was a conscious decision made by a man for whatever warped and selfish reasons that made sense to him to start a fire in a garage in a building he owned.
With that said, the judge sentenced Ray Abu Arab to 20 years in prison. The former carryout owner was offered a plea agreement after his case abruptly ended.
The court finds that I have no other legal remedy but to enter a mistrial.
On Wednesday, during testimony, a Toledo police sergeant made a costly statement. He was questioned about how he knew Ray Abu Arab was lying.
I never viewed any of his interviews.
Then how do you never viewed any of his interviews? So how do you know he lied to the police then about having something in his hand?
Because I did have knowledge that he obviously failed a polygraph.
Whoa.
Polygraph tests are not admissible in court. It shocked the entire courtroom.
Virtually suck the air out of this courtroom.
And left the victims' families emotionally broken, wondering if justice would be served for firefighters Jamie Dickman and Steve Mashinsky.
Not one fireman or firewoman hasn't relived every moment of that day thousands of times.
Overnight, the prosecution and defense team hammered out a deal so the firefighters and families of privates Dickman and Mashinsky could hopefully find some closure.
I want you to understand that no punishment that I can give will ever be enough to make the Dickman or Mashinsky families whole. No punishment to you erases the horrors the firefighters witnessed that day.
And the families told the judge that they have never seen an ounce of remorse from Ray Abu Arab. Back to you, Lee.
All right, Alexis Means, thanks very much. It's taken more than 3 years to get to this point. All started Sunday, January 26th, 2014. Firefighters Mashinsky and Dickman trapped in that burning building on Magnolia. And as you know, they never made it out alive. Now, some 4 days later, the public, including firefighters from around the country, came together, honoring the men at the Seagate Center. And the next day, Abu Arab arrested and in February indicted. And after a number of court hearings, a slew of them, the death penalty taken off the table. The case went to trial April 24th, coming to that conclusion today. Diane.
And it's been a very long 3-year fight for the family members of Privates Dickman and Mashinsky, and today it ended with a form of closure that no one could have predicted. I-Team reporter Sean Haggerty has that part of the story. Sean.
Yeah, those family members could not have imagined 18 to 24 hours ago having a news conference here in downtown Toledo discussing the end of this case, but that is the outcome they have, and that is the outcome they have to accept as they try to digest today's plea agreement today. Both the Machinsky and the Dickman family members today got a chance to address Abu Arab in court, talking about how their loved one was taken away from them on that day in January of 2014. Libby Cheney, Dickman's sister, says it was a long fight, a fight that they took with their new family, the Toledo Fire family, the police family, Lucas County prosecutors as well. She admits this is not the outcome they wanted or expected, but it is the outcome they have. So we asked her, is this closure?
I think that means something different to all of us. We're all going to have closure in it in a different way. I've said before that we all grieve them for different reasons. He was my brother, my parents' a son.
As for the decision to offer and eventually accept that plea deal, Cheney says the family members were a part of the discussion and they accept what has happened. Diane?
Hey, Sean, you were there the day of the fire. You even spoke with Abu Arab that day. What will you take away from this now 3-year process?
I think the one major takeaway are the twists and the turns that this case took. When we pulled up to the fire, it looked like a typical house fire that firefighters respond to all the time. I even spoke with Abu Arab, as you said. I asked if anyone was still inside. He said no, everyone was out and safe. Very cool, calm demeanor. Then you see the panic from firefighters as they probably got the distress call. Then we started to learn the firefighters had passed away. The investigation that was happening in the background was now a criminal investigation, eventually charging Abu Arab. And then for 3 years worth of an investigation and a trial, one sentence totally changes this whole trial and turns it upside down. So, Diane, the twists and turns that this case took are something a lot of people are going to remember.
All right, Sean Haggerty, thanks for that report. And a lot of emotions during this trial today. Judge Stacy Cook, while addressing Abu Arab, was even driven to tears.
I saw the absolute commitment this band of brothers has for each other as they fought to help to get Private Dickman and Private Machinsky, including a father who was a police officer on scene, who looked his rookie firefighting son in the face and telling him, knowing the inferno he was about to enter, you have to go in and get your guys.
So is it common for judges to let their emotions show? We asked UT Law professor Greg Gilchrist about that earlier today.
I think it's not uncommon in a case like this because this is such an emotional case, right? And this is the moment of sentencing. This is where the community, through the judge, casts judgment on the person who committed this crime.
Gilchrist also calls today's decisions a gut decision that is a punch in the gut for prosecutors because of the time spent preparing for this case.
And fire and police leaders also talking about the outcome of this case today. 13 ABC's Lisa Guyton was at this afternoon's news conference, and she now joins us live. Lisa.
Chief Santiago says he is not happy about how it all came to an end, but he accepts it. He says since the day firefighters Machinsky and Dickman died, there's been a heavy weight on the shoulders and the hearts of everyone in the department. He says it's important to point out that even with that, the men and women have continued to do incredible work for the city of Toledo. He hopes the healing can begin with the end of this case. As you know, the case ended with a mistrial and a plea deal after the testimony of a Toledo police sergeant. We asked Chief George Kroll about that testimony. He points out that Sergeant Snyder has testified in hundreds of cases, and Snyder is devastated by what happened.
This was not the way we intended this trial to end. As Chief of Police, I fully recognize and accept full responsibility for what happened in court yesterday. That being said, the detective sergeant who was on the stand told the truth. However, due to the rule of law, that particular truth was not allowed to be heard in open court. There was no malice or ill will in his heart, and he feels horrible, as do I and the entire Toledo Police Department.
Chief Kroll adds that the department will learn from what happened and train to make sure it never happens again. Reporting live in downtown Toledo, Lisa Guyton, 13 ABC, Action News.
Well, still to come, it's Ottawa County's largest employer.
But what are the consequences of keeping Davis-Besse up and running for years to come? At what cost to you? An in-depth look at what's at stake when we come back.
When you woke up this morning, chances are it was one of the first things that you did. You turned on the lights, and they worked.
Also safe to say, you didn't think for a second where that electricity came from to make it happen. Tonight, the future of one of our area's biggest energy sources and the people behind it is very much in doubt.
A cloud of uncertainty looms over the towns, the cities, and the schools of Ottawa County.
The facility's not going to shut down. I want to believe that it's not going to shut down.
Towering over the landscape, the Davis-Besse nuclear power station. Churning out electricity for hundreds of thousands of homes and businesses in Northwest Ohio. But what happens if this plant goes dark for good?
Deactivation and decommissioning of the plant is a possibility.
First Energy operates Davis-Besse and the Perry Nuclear Power Plant in Northeast Ohio. The company is drowning in debt. Sam Belcher is the chief nuclear officer.
We're exiting generation that's subjected to the competitive pressures of the marketplace.
Among those competitive pressures, electricity generated by historically inexpensive natural gas, wind and solar power alternatives, and deregulation of electricity markets. Belcher says there's still a place at the table for nuclear power.
Reliable, 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week power. We're not impacted by extremes of weather, so we're able to put power on the grid whether the wind blows or the sun shines. We're there around the clock. We do it emission-free.
But for all its positives, nuclear power is expensive to produce.
First Energy is hanging its hat on legislation working its way through the State House. It would create zero emissions credits for the benefit of operating a nuclear reactor like Davis-Besse. And this is where you come in.
If lawmakers in the House and Senate say yes, and the governor signs off, consumers would pay more.
And I correlate that to about a Starbucks coffee per month to ensure this plant continues to exist for the long term.
Or approximately $5 more a month for the average ratepayer. Longtime Ottawa County Commissioner Jim Sass calls it money well spent.
It's a huge impact. It is our largest employer, and it's our largest taxpayer.
Some 700 people, chemists, engineers, nuclear operators, and others work here, making an average of over $80,000 a year.
It's a great job in an area that I grew up in. For me, it's a great industry.
An industry helping to power Port Clinton, Oak Harbor, and the schools.
It's about 40% of our overall budget in a $20 million budget overall as a school district. It would be catastrophic to our district.
No one denies the wide-ranging economic impact Davis-Besse has on Ottawa County, and Northwest Ohio for that matter, but there is great debate brewing over that ZEN, or zero emissions legislation. The AARP here in Ohio, just one organization lining up in opposition. The Ohio Manufacturers Association calling it a wolf in sheep's clothing. And the Alliance for Energy Choice labels it a Chicken Little scheme. And yet another group says the bill is solely intended to improve First Energy's bottom line.
This really isn't about First Energy. This is about Davis-Besse. This is about Perry. We believe that these plants are valuable to the local communities.
It's not about dollars and cents, though.
Well, it's about ensuring that the plants have what they need to continue to operate.
And it's looking more and more like Ohio lawmakers will make the call.
If we don't do everything we can possibly do, and at the end of the day the result would be the plant would close down, I don't think I could sleep at night if I knew I didn't put the best effort I could to try to get a bill passed to at least keep these plants running.
And with that, the lobbying on both sides continues. Opponents maintain First Energy needs to fix its own mess, and you, the consumer, should have no part of what the critics call a clear and absolute bailout. Many of our region's lawmakers expressing support for nuclear energy as one piece of Ohio's power portfolio. Others telling me they're still in the information gathering process. The most recent committee hearing was this past Tuesday.
Oh, so when does First Energy make a final decision on the future of Davis-Besse and Perry over in Cleveland?
Well, they're calling it a race against time. By next summer, they want to make a call, so just over a year. Important to note, even if this ZEN bill passes, First Energy says it could sell Davis-Besse and Perry. Those plants could continue to operate, but at this point, it doesn't appear there's a huge market for a pair of struggling nuclear power plants. Of course, we'll be following this important vote, this important story, very closely.
Something to think about. All right, Lee, thank you. Well, we're not only going to hit 70 for the first time this month.
Jay has a couple of days in the 80s in his 7-day forecast. Details after the break.
Now, 13 ABC First Warning Weather with Chief Meteorologist Jay Burschbach.
A quick preview of tomorrow evening, the walleye back in town. Of course, it's a Friday evening, so downtown might be a little busy tomorrow, but looking dry at 7, 9, and 11 o'clock with temperatures in the evening falling from the 50s into the 40s. Again, that's tomorrow evening. The trend over the next week, well, it's a big rise in temps. We start tomorrow in the 60s, your weekend near 70. That'll be the first time we hit 70 this month, and next week by Wednesday and Thursday, highs in the lower 80s. So get those shorts and short sleeve shirts ready. Almost a summery feel to the air. Nothing tonight on Live Doppler 13,000. Rain is down to our southeast. That's where it stays for tonight with the current temperature of an even 60. Clouds will break up and then move back in later on tonight. There's that northeast wind. We've had it all week, basically, at 12 miles per hour, keeping temps along the lake shore in the 50s, inland between 60 and 63. So for tonight, here are the clearing skies initially. Nice view of that nearly full moon. Tomorrow morning, though, the clouds start coming back at us from the east. The rain stays away, but kind of cloudy at times, and it's looking okay temperature-wise. 60s. Same thing for Saturday, just a little more sunshine, and the chance of rain does sneak through late overnight into very early Mother's Day, but by about sunrise, the dry weather is back. Tonight, the low 44. Clearing skies this evening, then increasing clouds by sunrise. Tomorrow, no drizzle expected, actually. That has been taken out of the forecast. Highs in the lower 60s. Northeast winds 5 to 15. How about your 7-day forecast? Let's focus on Mother's Day weekend. Really pleasant after relatively cool weather this week. How about 70 each day? Warm and dry for Saturday. Sprinkles possible overnight into very early Sunday, but the rest of our day dry and warm. Next week, 72 degrees for Monday, 77 Tuesday, and there are the 80s, 83 for Wednesday and Thursday. Just a slight chance of a shower for Thursday itself. So a nice dry, warmer stretch of weather, perhaps just what the doctor ordered for many of you and the farmers as well. You need to get out there in the fields and let them dry out.
Yeah, all right. Jay, thanks.
Okay. Stay with the sports straight ahead.
Now, 13 ABC Action Sports with BCSN. Here's Sports Director Justin Feldkamp.
Hey everyone. Lucas Hafner has made his way around the country in recent months, playing for 3 teams and led him back home, here to Toledo. His Colorado Eagles will face the Walleye in the playoffs starting tomorrow. Lucas Hafner is home, albeit in an opposing jersey.
Yeah, I was able to go home last night and see the dogs for the first time in a while and got to go out to dinner with my mom, so it was nice.
The Central Catholic grad went on to play for Western Michigan. Since then, he's played in
Anchorage, Alaska, Columbus, Georgia, and then in Loveland.
All in a span of
1 year.
That's Loveland, Colorado, the home of the Eagles.
Lucas came in at a time when we needed him in the regular season. Really showed us what he was made of, and then was patient when we had contracted guys play in front of him, worked hard every day, was a great teammate, and has really taken advantage of his opportunity here in the playoffs.
The team's been playing really well in front of me, and given the opportunity, is just trying to make the most of it every time I get a chance to start.
His family will be there tomorrow night, in the stands and on his mask. Each member is represented. His mom, dad, grandpa, and 2 younger sisters. His dad used to fire shots at him when he was covered in couch pillows. No doubt he would be there tomorrow, but a few years ago he died due to complications of pancreatic cancer.
He'd just probably have a smile on his face, continuously. So getting the chance to come home, my family hasn't had a chance to see me play a pro game yet, so it'd be great to get in that one of the nights.
Colorado's coach has yet to decide who will start in goal, but if Hafner gets the chance, he'll be ready. Seems like a good kid. Meanwhile, Michigan's first NASCAR race of the season is next month, and today Cup driver Eric Almirola says the new stage format for races has been a success.
I think that's going to fit really well with Michigan International Speedway, because in years past, there's no denying the fact that while Michigan is a very fast and fun racetrack to race at, the race can sometimes get strung out. And, aerodynamics plays such a big part of that race in Michigan, and horsepower, that when the cars get strung out, it's really hard to pass, and we fight sort of the aero bubble. Well, now we've got designated segments, designated cautions. You're going to bunch the cars back up. You're going to allow the teams and the crew chiefs to come up with some pretty wild strategies.
They'll be racing at MIS in mid-June. We're coming right back.
An award-winning sports columnist has inked another honor.
Toledo native Christine Brennan joining the pantheon of bun signers today at Tony Packo's. Brennan says she's thrilled and honored to be part of this Toledo tradition.
Yeah, this is about the pinnacle of my career, I have to say. There's seriously, I grew up, of course, in Toledo. And coming here for school trips and things like that, Tony Packo's has always been a huge part of my life.
And in all, we're told Packo's has some 4,000 signed buns.
Well, a very risky game of cat and mouse.
Tonight at 11, we're going to introduce you to a kayaker who had to paddle for his life when he came face to face with a curious gator.
Yikes. And you're talking about tigers tonight.
JD Martinez doing a rehab stint with the Mud Hens. It's been a struggle so far this week, but he did something good tonight at the plate. We'll have that.
All right, weather-wise, what's coming up?
Yeah, up and up we go. First time to hit 70 this year in the forecast. Not just that, chance to hit 80 as well. Not once, but twice. So temps are up. Details at 11.
Wonderful news, Jay. Thanks. And be sure to join us tonight at 11 for 13 minutes of nonstop news.
Stay with us now. World News Tonight with David Muir starts right now. Take care, everyone.
Good night.
This is home. Toledo's only live Doppler. Live Doppler 13,000. On air, online, on the go.